Right, I want to make a little film of some of the books I've got for sale, because I want to find a good home for these. The years are marching on, and these things aren't they absolutely incredible. I need to find homes for them. Yeah, some of the absolutely wonderful front cover. That how it's kept its brightness, obviously, as long as it's in between books on the shelf, it's okay. Some are pretty tatty bindings generally, that comes in a paper binding, but we'll look at them all individually. So I'll put the camera on a little bit more zoom and get to work. I'm also going to work through them in the same order as they appear on my workshop blog, which is richardkell.livejournal. Right, so what we'll do is get down to the first one. His engine turning, Martin Matthews, very clean. Very clean. The only marks I can see on the outside are these here. Don't even know if it'll show up on the camera. But it's basically never been slid off the bookshelf more than once or twice. And of course we have it signed by the author, 1984. There we go. It's quite a good book actually. It's got some very good illustrations. So we don't want to open the book flat, because basically this is a new book, and some of the illustrations are even posted in from actual little, there we are, lots of machines. I can't spend too much time on each book because I'm going to try and whip through these. That's a wonderful thing, isn't it? Ibbetson's geometric chuck is manufactured by Holdsapple. It's fitted to obviously a Rose engine, but I don't want to open the book. I like nothing worse than the book cracked open. And so let's have a look at some of the straight line work. There we go. Where the rubber follows a wavy bar, straight line engine, and he draws on stuff from probably Plumie Bergeron. That's obviously a Science Museum photograph, I remember that. That's actually been on the front cover of Model Engineer. Various different things, obviously nice, shiny, highly restored Holtz, and it's pretty good. It's not a bad book at all. It seems exceedingly rare. Somebody's got a price of about $5.97 or something very high like that. I'm putting 600 down to start with, but like all the prices, they are subject to negotiation. We'll leave them on the web for maybe 6 months, maybe a year, I don't know. I think in the northeast we call this a Bobby Dazzler, but it's quite a good book indeed. Stobarts, I was calling it Batsford. Stobarts did a very good job of the facsimile basically, and the only marks I can see on it are probably where, I don't know what the hell that is, dust. Should clean off with the rubber actually, by the looks of it. That's all I can think it could be. It's been off the shelf half a dozen times, as you can see, as an indicator. This is like painted machines. We don't obscure these marks because they are history of the object. Of course there we have the gilt top, which is very nice indeed. And so, Silver, or Discourse of Forest Trees and the Propagation of Timber in His Majesty's Dominions. It's very good indeed, it's very clean. It was £30 originally, about 77 or something like that. There we are. It's a facsimile of the 5th edition dated 1729. Gorgeous thing actually. This edition, 1979, is limited to 500 copies. So it was published in 79, I didn't know it was as late as that. 500 copies. And so we need to find a home of this as well. And we'll keep our fingers off it. It's generally text, that's all you get with this. It's quite a good thing. I've never read it. I've never worked through it. I got it. Oh, here we are. Here's the original receipts. Here we go. Richard Kell, 1 Allison Place Annex. That place is now even pulled down. Good God, May 80. I can't believe this. 150 portage, £30 for the book. So that's quite a good one. It's quite rare as well actually. I've looked on the web and I can't find anybody with a copy of this for sale. It's like Teesdale Buckles Guns and Shooting. Well, that's a little easier to obtain, but at first you can't find reference to it. So there we are, it's a nice book. And you can see there's a little bit of, it's got plastic cover on it. There it is, a little bit of dust. It's made it a little bit grimy, but it's not straight out of the box, 1980. This is 30 years later. So that's Evelyn Silver. Quite a nice object. So I think we've got about 200 on the list for that. Is it 200-300? Obviously we need to get bids, we need to get suggestions what we think it's worth. I've got 2 volumes of American Machinist. First one's Jan-June '07, volume 30, and the other one is Jan-June 1912. And all things considered, bloody hell, that's clean. That is very nice. The only problem is the contents are loose between the covers, as you can see. Oops. But that's no problem, you've got good boards. These are good boards and could be fixed. It's the spine. What a beautiful thing this is. And so I've got loads of, let me see, what have I got? Right, we've got loads of little bits of paper in there, and as I mentioned in the workshop blog, you can find the material that was originally published by Merchant and Taylor on cutting tool theory, development of approach angle, all that sort of thing. Actually, often more better pictures of machine tools when you can usually flick through. Just because I'm looking on camera, I don't want to open this book up flat. But absolutely super. I can't be able to read all my secrets. But lots of stuff on tooling and the ways of doing things, which is to a very high craft level. Looks like somebody's just invented a zip back there as well. And pictures of works. Good God, look at that. Look at that bottom photograph. The fitting works. Bloody hell. Where's that at? Italian Motorworks. Right. Absolutely wonderful. Right, just looked on the web, and the only mention of finding these bound anywhere is $300 per volume, which is 200 quid each. I'd be quite happy if I get 150 each for these, but I don't think they're worth less than that. If they went for as little as 100, I think that'd be quite laughable. These are good clean. I don't want to open them too much. Nomograms. Very handy things. Absolutely marvellous. So all sorts of things. There's silly whiteout. There's details of lathe parts. There's an awful lot of machine tool stuff in here. We're not going to find it by me going through quickly. There's information on vulcanising as it's done in a factory. But lots of little bits of paper in to illustrate where particularly interesting articles are. And I appear to be whizzing past all the good bits. I'm very clever, am I? Here we are. That's how we make millions of electric meters. It's very good how they openly show you production techniques, not just pictures of machines, but actually in factories and tooling. Let's see if we can find the stuff on the Edison phonograph. Now then, this stuff really sings to me, as it were, because this is how jigs and tooling were made 100 years ago. Obviously this has been of interest to me. Look at this, little bench lathes set up to do, or mandrels, headstocks set up to do various little tricks. These pages are absolutely immaculate. There can't be many American machinists that are better quality than this. Knurling brass gears, it tells us. There we are, reaming small gear blanks and special fixture. Reaming larger gear blanks. Absolutely lovely. Now is that stuff to do with the... Absolutely wonderful. Yep, sure is. It's many of the machines used in the Edison Phonograph Works, Orange, New Jersey, are special machines built on the premises or else made to order from special designs made by well-known machine tool builders. That's the one. We really need to devote more footage specifically to recount these old articles. Never mind, we're just doing a resume of the books for sale. I think that's self-explanatory. It's a clean copy, it's just been off the shelf a few times. It's the red. Do we call this Rexine? Unfortunately, stupidly, years ago, I actually wrote my name in it, 1977. I apologise for that. It's in ink as well. Oh dear. How we live and learn. Anyway, this is Sonia's Modern Horology. Look at those plates. Absolutely incredible. And I remember reading a library copy of this, which I actually bought on the library sale years later. So I've got 2 copies of this actually to offer. This one's got to be worth 80 or 100, isn't it? Look at this stuff. Absolutely wonderful. I don't want to open this flat at all. None of these books are open flat. Isn't that gorgeous? Goodness me. And so it's a pretty clean thing. A couple of tiny little creases run down. And that's not bad, is it? That's not bad at all for its age. This is a foils reprint. Right, the next one is Edwardian's Patterns for Turning. That's not too bad, that's not dirty at all, that's wonderful. Unfortunately, obviously, it's coming away. A little audio, there's we've got some foxing in there. I'll try and show the title page each time. There we go, 1872, John Murray. And as well as his patterns, you've got a vast amount of setting information, trains and radiuses, and then we come to the front of the book, which I should really be, isn't that incredible? Absolutely incredible. Probably had a go at one or two of these simpler things. Goodness knows, I can't remember. Wonderful. These men certainly applied themselves, didn't they? They certainly applied themselves. Isn't that gorgeous? I think we'll take a few photographs of these and build up some material on the blog. Incredible. Oh, there's a very familiar sort of pattern. Just whizzed past a little bit of this. And what people don't realise is when you've cut one of these with a properly polished cutter and hold it to the light, you can get sort of like figure of eight effects as the light catches the cuts that you've made, hence the polishing of the cutting blades on the OT lathe. Right, so that was Edwardian's Patterns for Turning. We've got 3 volumes. Evans. The contents are very good. A little bit of foxing at the beginning of the last one, but I don't think there's any foxing in these at all. Maybe I'll take that off because it's loose, isn't it? There we go. 1903 this, 3 matching volumes, and typical, lots of information for the budding turner. Interestingly, James Fox's ancestor about half a year ago did something with boiler tubes and waste and heat recovery or greater efficiency. It was a television programme tracing your ancestors, and it turned out this, there we are, the goniostat, to produce the polished facets or edges on your cutting tool so that when you do cut, the cuts gleam absolutely bright. That's the whole idea of it. Certainly the opposite of anything ragged. So we've got 3 of those. Evans Ornamental Turning. So what do we like? The dirt. Nothing at all. That's very nice indeed. That's very nice. Been on clean shelved. It's one that everybody knows. Not so easy to get a hold of though. I've just been looking on the web. It's quite rare. The Art of Double Counting on the Lathe. Captain James Ash, late of the Bombay Artillery, I think, or something like that. A little bit of paper to show us the title page. Isn't that a gorgeous thing? Now, if that was £30 that I paid in the late 70s, this thing should be worth about 600 now. I'm not quite sure. It's at about 400 quid on one, somebody's offering it, and but I think yeah, there's only one available at 400. I think that's probably a little bit on the high side. But these were very clever people. I've got nothing but respect for these people. Did some very clever work. And I produced 1 or 2 simple patterns from this years ago. There we go. There we go. By means of 2 eccentric chucks you produce oval patterns. That's the thing, without actually, there's no oval chuck in itself involved, just 2 eccentrics double counting one against the other. And so that's it. It's quite nice. That's quite nice. That's quite a good one. Quite a good one. That's interesting. That's the graver, one of the most important. I wouldn't use those angles, but it's one of the most important tools in the workshop, the graver. I couldn't turn without it. Ah, it's got a library plate in from someone. It's a bit grubby as you first open it, and this hasn't got a date on. There we are, it's coming apart, you see. Some of these often do. And it's Turning for Amateurs, the lathe and its attachments and tools. It's very good indeed. Published by the Bazaar in London, Strand. But the great thing is, it's one hell of a good book. It's tight. I'm not going to rive it apart. It's a very good book actually. Anybody's who's interested in lathes in any way, even today, will find everything they want. Oops, falling apart. But the actual text is good. The boring collar, I know all about this. Got one of those. Got most of what's in this book. Very interesting. Oh, we haven't got an elliptical cutter. That's something I was going to make at one time. We haven't got that pattern of ornament of universal either. Never mind. There we go, your first rudimentary steps. Producing patterns. It's actually quite interesting. Gets a grip on you, become very interested in this stuff. Obviously we, in our post-modern age, we could look down on some of the things produced, but we've got to take everything in its time and its context. We did very well. Right, what have we got here? Yeah, the next one is Geometric Turning by Savary. Can't find a price for this on the web, 1873, because there doesn't seem to be one for sale. So this is quite unique. This is a bit like the Evelyn Silver. You just cannot find one to get a price of. Here we are. Absolutely wonderful. 1873. And that's showing the incredible apparatus that you can play around with. So it's a book of patterns. There are an awful lot of stuff in here. Good God. I want to be very careful with this. I shouldn't really. I don't mind touching it with bare fingers because I wash my hands a lot. I've just washed them before I started to do this. But aren't these wonderful? These are obviously printed from the actual specimens cut on the lathe. Good God. It ain't a spirograph, this is way beyond. Of course the man would register the change wheels so that it could be reproduced at any time. We have called Series 2, which we imagine is when you build up another layer on the chuck. Good God. Oh my, this deserves quite a few words and a film on its own. I think we might do that, split them down into different things. Right, so we've got, and this thing is an utter gem. It's a gem to look at. I think it's only about £80 on the web, but I think it's worth more than that. I think we're looking. It's a good one. It's a good one, even if it's just 120. Whoops. We'll have to James Lukin. I've even got a carved mirror frame about 2.5 feet long here that my granddad produced from his book on wood carving, from one of the patterns in there in the 1920s. At the back you've got a Britannia catalogue, which actually has a picture of my blacksmith's bellows in it. Mine are all day and onions. They're for sale as well. I think it was 500-600 for them, I'm not sure. But if we get past the catalogue, which is bound in, oops, we find all, there we are, instantly recognisable, the oval chuck with its offset ring. Now I've got an offset ring for an oval chuck, but not the oval chuck itself. So I've built about 3 different varieties. The biggest I can turn is about a 19.5 inch max diameter oval frame, which I actually did for a woman who wanted some. Can't remember. No, it wouldn't be 19, that's the max in the gap of the lathe that you can swing. But anyways, again, it's a very good book. Why they should say this is for technical schools and apprentices, I don't know, because there's a lot of OT stuff that you just really wouldn't. I've also got hundreds of ornamental turning cutters that are brand new, never been used, original temper colours, perfectly visible, all made by birch, to fit in birch frames. Ah, that's interesting, we've got metal spinning. I didn't know that. Right, never quite explained the plastic flow that occurs, that you can actually feel through the lathe when it's going right. And even the ones on the web, though they seem to, on YouTube, show you the correct way of doing it, because they work in industry, never seems to be quite to show you the feel of how it works when it's right. A treble geared lathe, my God, that's a man's tool. That's quite like the Edward Hines actually. That's getting close to the Edward Hines, but it's got birch overhead gear. A bit similar. It's typical general sort of lathe design, 1900. So it's a wonderful book. But it's actually sorry, of all the books, I think I'd be sorry to see this one go. Sorry to see it go. And there's what you would term the plain lathe, the amateur and electrician. Wonderful stuff. Wonderful stuff. Alright. And then we move from that, and we've got the Amateur Mechanics Workshop. This is a good one. This is a good one. So have a look at the binding. Yeah, it's been used in a clean place. There's no dirt from soot that you would find, or in a smoke-filled room, coal-fired room 100 years ago. There we are. 1878, that's not bad. That's my wife coughing. She's poorly today, poor thing. I've lost a knock to cough while I'm filming. She's allowed to be poorly now and again. She has a wonderful sick record. She's very clever. Unfortunately, there's a tear to one of the plates in the back. What a great shame. What the plates are, I'm not going to even unfold them. That's for somebody else to find out. Right, this is the last one. Look at those. I'm quite surprised, considering this will have spent 100 years, or nearly 100 years, in areas that are, or rooms that are coal fired, areas that would have terrible smog and dirt and coal smuts and whatever. It's quite nice indeed, quite nice. A little bit dark, looks dark, a little bit grubby, but it's brighter, not as bright as the looking. Unfortunately, hold on, that's better. Unfortunately, oh dear. Never mind, these things are expected to be like this. They're notoriously liable to fall apart, and that's the nature of them. There we go. No doubt printed from an actual, would have to be printed from an actual specimen that's cut on his lathe. 1872. Now this, according to looking on the web, is a rare book. There's no foxing. It's it looks good. It looks good. There's the errata. Quite good indeed. There you go, a little bibliography by the look of it. Yes, that's a bibliography of, there we are, already extant work. And he's quite a clever man. He breaks it. I don't want to open this too much. Here we go. It's quite incredible. Quite incredible. There we go. Certainly takes it from a mathematical viewpoint, if not scientific. Well, it would have to be mathematical, wouldn't it? And so I assume it's complete. I'm not going to look through every page. I've no intentions of. I don't even want to open the damn thing. It's a very good book. These pages haven't been open for an awful long time. An awful long time indeed. Goodness knows. Who could follow that? Have to study it first and look at it and realise what it's about. Isn't that gorgeous? Absolutely lovely. So this one seems to be worth quite a bit of money according to the web. I don't want to damage it any further. We'll leave it exactly as it is. And you get the boards and a man can work on that, or sorry, a person, a bookbinder, and make it right again. So this one appears to be worth an awful lot of money. It's notes on the epicycloidal cutting frame by Basley. And if we look at the little bits of information that I've got from the web here, we're finding that it's $300 on Amazon and $220 on A-Books. It's actually, considering, I think that's a fair price. $220 for that. I think you're getting your money's worth. So those are the books anyway, and I think I need to break this down a little bit and add other things on individual books later, for the fact that they're interesting objects on their own. So if anybody sees the workshop blog, which is richardkell.livejournal, get in touch with me. The email address is at the bottom, and we'll start talking and see what we can do price wise. And as I learn, as time goes on, I will put prices down. I think for something like American Machinists, we're looking at say 150 each certainly. The Model Engineers, I worked at a figure at 3k to start with. You get other volumes as well, some earlier bound ones from the 30s and earlier. So I think the absolute minimum for that lot is about 2.5k for the MEs. Certainly I think it's more like 3k. Evelyn Silver, I think we'll look. It's a clever camera this, it cuts you off when you talk too much because you forget the time, you just ramble on. Anyway, that's the stuff. We'll see what we can do. Thank you.